So, a young man found himself without hope, purpose, or reason. He looked for relentlessly for ways to spare himself from that pain, and finally he settled for the most extreme option, suicide. He tried overdosing on his father's medications and was promptly rushed to the hospital. He was wired up to everything possible to flush out the drugs, and it was only then that he realized his mistake. It was I who made this near fatal mistake. And it's only now that I realize that it was a mistake. And I am here now to tell you that this is not the way to go. So, educating young people about suicide prevention will save lives. I am credible to talk about this as I am a survivor of more than one suicide attempt. I have been through the mental trauma surrounding these failures, following these failures, and I know the negative effects that suicide can have both on oneself and others. So, suicide is a waste of life. It means suicide. It means life is pointless in the end when carried out. Suicide brings pain upon those left behind, while the victim has lost the opportunity to find real purpose. So today, I will persuade you that educating young people about suicide prevention will save lives by first going over the myths and stigmas surrounding suicide, finding ways to seek help in dire situations, and third, making you aware of the consequences of suicide. As the October 17, 2019 article from the CDC states, suicide was the second leading cause of death for people aged 10 to 24 in 2017, which is fairly recent, and that was the year I attempted. Even more concerning is assumptions people make about suicide and who is susceptible to its grip. One of the myths that the September 2018 article from National Alliance on Mental Illness states that talking about suicide will encourage people to do it. Speaking from personal experience, that is just not true. Talking about it not only helps me, but it gets those thoughts out of my mind, and moreover, the article states that not only does talking about suicide reduce the stigma, but it encourages people to seek help, which is one of the key ways to avoid suicide. Another myth from the same article is that most suicides happen suddenly and without warning. This is very not true because both I and this article know that there are warning signs that precede the actual attempts. But what are the potential signs? As a January 2020 article from American Foundation for Suicide Prevention lists multiple signs, such as talking about being a burden to others, this is one I can relate to because I did this myself before I attempted. I thought I'd relieve others of my burden by killing myself, which was false as I would only give a truly harder burden to those who cared about me had I succeeded. Another sign is isolating from family and friends, which is something that I was known for doing in the months leading up to my first attempt. I thought no one wanted to talk to me, so I refused to talk to others. And I let myself suffer my own self-fulfilling prophecy as a result. Can you now see that these kinds of stigmas just aren't true? I am living proof of that. Now that I have talked to you about a few of the stigmas surrounding suicide, I am now going to tell you about ways to seek help. Help is not easy to seek out, but it is possible, especially when someone else notices. Help Guide, a nonprofit mental health and wellness website, posted an article on April 16, 2020, providing many tips for seeking assistance to combat suicide. First tip, if you notice someone you care about is displaying warning signs, please speak up. Possible conversation starters to engage the person are, I have been feeling concerned about you lately. Or I wanted to check in with you because I noticed you haven't been yourself lately. And then after you start the conversation, you need to be able to follow it up with questions needed to move the conversation forward and maybe even ease the person's tensions a bit. The article expands upon this by giving questions like, how can I best support you right now? And it also lists other helpful comments like, you are not alone in this, I am here for you. These are things that would have helped me personally had I heard them back in the day. But when you're in a psychiatric hospital as an inpatient like I was, you have multiple groups available to you for strategies that you can use in your later life once you get out. And there are also outpatient programs at various local hospitals and also the same psych wards that you can go to for support. Help isn't impossible to seek. It's out there. You just need to really look for it, and it really does help. Now that I have told you about ways to seek help, I will now talk to you about the potential consequences of suicide. When a young person reaches the point of planning his or her own suicide, they often don't think of the ramifications, what will come afterwards. I didn't, and I soon found out after the fact. As a scholarly article from Oxford University Press dated September 22nd, 2016 states, loss survivors are at increased risk of developing depression, anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder, and suicide themselves due to a pain over losing a loved one. My dad once told me that had I succeeded, his whole world would have been gone. And he deals with depression himself, so I believe him, especially now. Then there's the matter of those who survived an attempt, like me. If you fail your attempt, you have to live with the knowledge of what you've just done. You have to lay in that hospital bed and process what everyone, including yourself, has just gone through, keeping you alive, and you have to listen to people who were afraid to lose you. It is not something you ever want to go through. I had people afraid for me for months on end. I felt like I was always being watched and helped, and it wasn't really what I expected, especially because I expected to die. More importantly, if you fail, you still cause grievances to everybody because they think of what would have happened had they lost you. That's something no one ever wants to feel or hear, and I know this for a fact. But now that you have this knowledge, I hope that you never go down the dark path that I did. So today, I discussed the importance of young people learning about suicide prevention by first going over the stigmas and myths about suicide, second, talking about ways you can receive help for suicide, and third, talking about the potential consequences of suicide. Now with this newfound knowledge, I want you to be on the lookout for yourself and your friends. Notice the signs, and if you see them, please act to stop them. If someone like me can do that, why can't you? A young man tried not once but twice to take his own life, but even more impressive, I now help friends to help stay positive so that both I and my friends can live complete lives as our families and friends believe we can. We're all in this together. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.